All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in and welcome to your 11th session of Book Clubs Across Borders. Sadly, our friends from Balkh cannot join in because I think you guys would have been following the news and you know what has been going on in Afghanistan. They are really unsure and uncertain about the situation, that how the future is going to pan out for them. So for now, they might be they do have shared some videos from their students with us, which I'll be sharing with you via share screen. But for now, we can start our live conversation, and I'm so glad that we are finally meeting after so many months. So the book that we are going to be discussing today is I Am Malala, which is an autobiography of Malala Yousafzai. So, Hanya, Athar, or maybe Amna, if you guys would like to start the conversation, you can start by giving a summary of the book and share your views on it.
Sure, I'll go first. Okay, so basically, I really like the book. Like putting its content aside, I liked it because the aspect of relativity that I felt with Malala, because she's a student, she's studying in the same country, so it was just like, hey, reading an autobiography of someone who's so real, who's almost at the same level with you. It just makes it so much more interesting and engrossing. Um, as far as her book goes, I was really surprised to find humor in the book, which she uses very well. I did not expect that. I was expecting it to be really serious and more historical and ustaraki, but it was really captivating to read her book. Um, I personally did visit Mingora after the military had taken over where she was originally from. I had the opportunity to go there and I did see the environment there. I did see the buildings, the schools, and almost everything was ruined by the Taliban. It really gives you a perspective about how much control they had over the village. And that just gives me a perspective on how difficult it would have been for Malala and her family to pursue such basic rights, which is, the most sad part about this books. It's literally a basic right to allow someone to get educated. And even for that, they have to stand up and fight, and for something so mere and basic. It's embarrassing to a point. Okay, it's something so little that they have to fight for. But overall, the book was very engrossing, very interesting. It was a very easy read as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll pitch in later on if something interesting comes up.
All right, thank you so much, Athar. Hanya, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I actually have physical copy. So I read this like 2 years ago. And I also made a review then. So as we all know, Malala is a very controversial figure, unfortunately, in Pakistan especially. And so, I've been defending her for the last 3 or 4 years. Um, and recently, even in my psychology class, we were discussing, leadership and leadership models. And it started a long debate on Malala because, our teacher, she asked for examples on who we think, today's leaders are. And so I spoke the name of Malala, and everybody started to discuss it. Um, so because of that, I always wanted to know more, because there's people who bring up points and they say that Malala did this, Malala did that, and it's all a hoax, and did it even happen, and if it happened, was it sort of planned, and did they do it just to use her as a tool to defame Pakistan. And so that is why I originally bought this book, because I wanted to know more about her story. And it really did give me an insider's perspective, because there's a lot of things in this book that a lot of people don't know about. And it sort of makes more sense when you read this, because, and but I was reading this, I first of all, of course, I felt inspired by, but I also felt that we had in some ways failed her, and I felt responsibility for that, because it was she's Pakistani, and she was a child, and it was our responsibility. And now we shun her, and we disregard what she's saying, and we, whatever that is, however, whatever whatever is happening in that place. Or but a lot of people say that she left Pakistan. Why is she living abroad? Why does she not come back? If she cares so much about Pakistan and girls' education, why does she come here and live here? And it's just that if you read the book, you will understand that she doesn't come back because her life is in danger. And if she can help girls' education around the world from abroad, and she's doing that, and she's doing a lot in that field, then why not? Why does she have to come here and live in Pakistan to prove that she is a real Pakistani, that she cares about education and she cares about girls' education? And and I think even in Pakistan, girls' education is it is a problem. Not all girls get education, and a lot of them are out of school. And so if someone is speaking up about that, uh, they should. I mean, if it's a problem, we should be able to first of all identify that's a problem, instead of say that it's just defaming Pakistan, and then solve that problem. And then we can go internationally and say, what, we've solved this problem, we have progressed, and we care about these issues, and we hope that what happened to Malala will never ever repeat itself again in Pakistan. So yeah, I didn't really speak much about the book, but I really, really like this book. And I've given it to so many people to borrow as well throughout the years, because I just want people to be able to read the entire story and then form an opinion. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Hanya, for sharing your amazing thoughts. And I like this thing so much that I think the point that you raised, that people are always out to say about someone, that they are out there to defame Pakistan. I think there are so many other things that have already defamed Pakistan, that such figures, even if they are out to defame it, they're not doing anything much that has been already happening. Since we are already talking about this, if you all have been following the news, we know that the past couple of months have been really difficult, especially for women in Pakistan. The kind of harassment cases that have been coming out, and these cases are rising. I wouldn't say they are rising. I would say that they were happening already at this intensity. They are just being reported now because of social media, and people have now access, and they have a little bit more courage to talk about these things. And I would want to add on to this conversation that the recent incident, the unfortunate incident that happened right here at the Minar Pakistan place, my workplace is right here. And even my family members were saying that it was just a stunt to defame Pakistan. And I just said this one sentence that, oh, there are already so many things that have already defamed Pakistan, and you think that this small thing would have done something around it. And if you think that it's defaming Pakistan, then I think that is one thing that's been going on. But there are so many other things attached to it. You are not seeing the whole problem in the bigger picture. So I think this was one of my questions, that why do you think Malala has become such a controversial figure, and why can't, especially Pakistani people and especially Pakistani men, they cannot digest someone like Malala who is fighting for women's rights. So would you guys like to say anything on this?
Yeah. Just to expand on the same point, the one thing I really liked about this book was that it wasn't just the autobiography of Malala. It really gave you an acumen into how our society reacts to such situation. It really gives you a perspective on, ये सिर्फ एक बच्ची नहीं थी, ये एक पूरे सोसाइटी की स्टोरी थी कि उसके इतना कुछ करने के बाद भी हम लोग क्या सोचते हैं उसका, and how we think of her now, and how we put her as, even though and I think it's more to do with politics than it has to do with her personally, because and I feel like politics हर जगह play में आती है, and that's something that's understandable. If someone does come on the international media इतने बड़े level के ऊपर, तो हाँ conspiracies भी आएंगी, rumors भी चलेंगे. I think that's just something you really have to bear with. It's just a reality. As much sad it is, it's just a reality. I feel like in it is embarrassing that we do think that such things defame us. जबकि अगर ऐसा कुछ होता है, like for instance जो अभी incidents हुए हैं पिछले कुछ months में, अगर defame हो भी रहे हैं, it's so much better if you take preventive measures after that to curb those air quotes defaming, air quotes end. And you know, like it's like so much better if you actually react to it in a much better way. That'll show how progressive you are, and that'll show how much you actually care about all the things you speak to. Which I feel like abhi matlab कुछ दिन पहले वो prime minister की एक statement थी about वो men are robots वाली, and everybody got and I think he's just I don't know, I think Imran Khan को भी देख समझ नहीं आते कि he's in the PM office, because technically speaking, I know this might be controversial. Technically speaking, what he said wasn't wrong, technically. But it's just that on such a platform to say something, it's like कि आपके छोटे छोटे loves का भी इतना बड़ा impact पड़ता है ना, people are gonna misconstrue it in every single way. It's just he should realize that he's not at a platform where he can say such things. He doesn't have the liberty of that anymore. He has to know कि certain चीजों का certain decorum होता है कहने का, और इस तरह he can just go and blabber about whatever he wants to, which I feel like he still isn't grasping the concept of, to be really honest. But yeah, it just really gives you an insight on how our society is during this whole mess, I guess, quagmire.
Yeah, we have another participant, Amna. Would you like to say something?
Yes, please. So, your question about why is Malala such a controversial figure, or why is she even having such a great attention or importance being given to her? I think that was a very good question. And the thing was that in Pakistan, when you have such controversial figures rising up, when you have debates, I think that's a good thing, because the fact that then people don't just automatically conform to what their elders said, right? You don't just stay in the same place you were. I think that, like Hania said, that it's a good thing to first get informed about the problem and then make your own opinion. So it's fine if you think it's a rumor. It's fine if you think it's not. But the thing is that the main objective being achieved by the end of the day is that awareness is being reached. You are recognizing that there is a problem of education. There is a problem of women's rights, children's rights within Pakistan. And the thing was that this incident itself was so important, or her books are so important. It is because there's a clash of so many different factors. There's a clash of, let's say, misogyny and patriarchal views within Pakistan. They're being questioned, or for example, the illiteracy is being questioned. The problems of the rural areas are being questioned. There are so many factors at play over here, and this debate, it plays out in so many different ways and aspects. And I think that's a good thing that we're discussing this on platforms, and we're discussing this at homes, because then now you're actually able to have an opinion. You're not just relying on what your authorities say. And I think that in itself is a good thing. But also, secondly, I think that the way Malala has become an international example is, again, a good thing. Why? Because the fact that if you just look at her way of expression in her speeches or in her books, they're actually being used as examples in pretty very good platforms, such as for example, there's this app called Elevate, and it's an international app which students use throughout worldwide, right? And then they improve their vocabulary, they improve their expression, and so on. And then in apps like those, you have speeches from Malala where they tell you how to improve your expression and how she used it, and about her books, for example. And I think that even on the aspect of her content or way of expression, it's also pretty great and pretty inspiring. And I think that if Malala from a rural background and a young girl can do that, I think other people can too. And I think that's a very good example to take inspiration from.
Thank you so much, Amna. Ms. Khatija, would you like to add on to this conversation? Ms. Khatija, can you hear me? I think she has some internet issues. So I have another question for you guys. So I'm so glad that you guys have read the book and you have such informed opinions on it. So when you guys have read the book, and even if you see Malala's speeches, or you would see her going about in the news and everything, you would have noticed that her father has played a very important role in her life. So my question is, how can other fathers advocate for their children, especially for their daughters, and why is this necessary? I know it's a very okay. Miss Khatija has. Can you guys see me?
Yes.
That's right. Okay, because she's seeing that I'm stuck. I think she has some internet problems. Ms. Khatija, you can add in your thoughts into the chat box. So coming back to my question, I was just asking about you from you guys that how fathers can play a very important role in their daughter's life, since Malala's father was her backbone throughout her journey. He's still her backbone right now.
Okay, I'll pitch in first. um, I think the best way to do that is to do literally the bare minimum. Because to be very honest, I've personally seen examples of females in my family. I've seen them how they're treated against their brothers, against other male figures in their families, and it's not right. I think there's this really there's this cliche of the woman being dependent on the man, which I think really needs to end. It just shouldn't exist anymore, because fortunately I have one little sister and we are two brothers. So obviously my dad is obsessed with my sister since she's the only little girl he has, and he loves to spoil her. And actually he prefers her more over us, which I personally love, because I've seen how because I have all of my female friends, I've personally have interactions and I've personally seen how parents, and honestly I also want to put this out, Kate, to a certain points it's understandable, because at the end of the day we can talk about a utopia where women are free, where there's no harassment, where there's everybody wants to do everything, but the reality just is Kate, it's just not like that in our country, and parents fear for that. They fear कि खुदा ना खास्ता उनकी बच्ची को कुछ ना हो जाए, which is something that really come up in the recent few days, where a lot of girls were saying, because I'm very active on Twitter, so a lot of girls were saying, okay, I finally now understand why my parents won't let me go out. I finally now understand why my parents did this. Because it's sad, it shouldn't be like this, but it's a reality at the end of the day. And I feel like to a certain point, it is understandable how their actions are, but I feel like instead of focusing on the woman, which has been the past, which has been the historical perspective, I feel like it should now shift to men and how they react and how they behave in society and how they should behave in society. And I feel like once fathers start doing that, once, because it's all about raising, आप अपना बच्चा अच्छी तरह raise करेंगे, वो अगली generation को अच्छी तरह raise करेगा. It's just a trickle down effect. It's not going to take one day, it's not going to take 1 year, it's not going to take 1 decade. It's going to be a generational change, but we can start today, we can take steps today, and that's all the difference is going to make.
Thank you so much, Athar, for such, I would say, revolutionary thoughts at this point right now, because I have been in a constant war with the young boys and the men in my family, because I would like to give you guys some perspective into my life right now. So the kind of household that I have grown up in is a very typical patriarchal household. And where Amna, she pointed this out, that children, they form opinions based on their families or based on their parents' opinions. So when I was growing up and when I was in school, I was in college actually when Malala's incident happened, when she got shot, and her whole backstory was, being circulated on the news channels. And my mother, she made me feel embarrassed that, oh, she's such a high achiever and you haven't done anything in your life. And I was like, she got shot because of her misery, because of the troubles that she was going through. So, but then she got into Oxford and everything was happening for her. And suddenly she changed into a figure, which is what we now call a controversial figure. I really don't want to call her a controversial figure because there's no controversy to it, according to me. I think has a very transparent, she has a very clear life. And if someone who wants to see it that way, they can see it very clearly and very plainly. They can see that what she is doing and how she is doing it. I think Hanya would agree with me that if someone looks at her life and how she has got to this point, you can see all of her struggle. So at this age, I've been able to form my own opinion on her and the people who have been through such struggles. And now I'm having this dialogue, these controversial debates with my family members, that they are not being able to understand me. And then at this age, I've been able to understand that I have to pick my battles. I have to live with my family because, again, as Adhar said, that I am dependent on them because I can't live. I can live outside my house. I can live independently, but of course, that's not the social norm, sadly. So, at this point, I have understood that yes, I have to pick my battles, and if I can see that there is a light inside this person, he can or she can understand me, then only I am able to, spend my energy on them to make them understand where I'm coming from. But I think sadly, the people around us and the country and the society that we are living in, people are very rigid when it comes to their opinions, even at a young age. So I think, as you said, Athar, that I think our generation, especially my generation, the millennials, they will die fighting for all of these causes. And maybe your generation, when you guys come at my age, you will be able to see that, oh, now we can see some change in the people around us. Anyone from you, from three of you, who would like to say something on this?
Okay, so I think when fathers support their daughters, that can literally make or break their lives, because unfortunately, obviously, the man is the person of the household, and it's usually his say. And so if the father supports what the daughter is doing, then society and people cannot say anything to that girl or that woman, and so she can pursue whatever she wants to. And as Atha was saying, that he personally knows people and families that are discriminatory towards their daughters, and I also know people, and some of my very close friends whose families are just like that, where it's considered that the daughter has to get married, and that's the first priority instead of education. If she wants to pursue her education, she has to fight for it, and those basic rights that women have. And And I see it so for example, my mom is a journalist, and so I see that sexism, and I see that sort of patriarchy existing in those places as well, where if they have a protest for women and uh, for women's rights in media, what happens is that the men of media do not show up to those protests, and not only do they not show up to those protests, they call the women and intimidate them and say you cannot show up to that protest because of this reason, because you're part of this group, and we'll kick you out of the group if you show up to the protest. And so those the patriarchy is everywhere, and it is affecting men as well. And so I've drifted away from the question, but fathers supporting their daughters really, because for example, I'm a climate activist, and so the things that I do, I organize protests. I have an organization where we have different events related to the climate crisis, and I'm going to this interview and that interview and volunteer work and different events and all those things. And if I did not have my father supporting me and my mother supporting me, it would have been way more difficult, because he'll be the one that's driving me there, and he'll be the one that's sharing and getting the information out to people as well. So yeah, I think, and what Athar was saying, where it's considered normal for women to depend on a man in their life. So it's like, okay, if you're not depending on your father, you'll be depending on your brother, and if you're not depending on your brother, you'll be depending on a male friend, and if you're not depending on a male friend, you'll be depending on your husband. If it's not your husband, you'll be depending on your son. So we depending on men is like, and you know i I've just, it annoys me so much, because so for example, what I see is that there's a lot of male friends that I have that that the majority of them at the same age as me, they know how to drive, and they have the privilege of having their cars and driving us around, right? And so it really boils my blood, because I see my cousins, my female cousins who are proper adults, their brothers know how to drive, and they depend on them to take them everywhere. And it's just it's just so frustrating, because it's like, why shouldn't they know how to drive? Why shouldn't they why do they have to depend on their brother? Why do they have to depend on people to take them somewhere? They should be able to do that themselves and have those cars and that mobility themselves. And yeah, and there's just a lot of that. So for example, recently what happened was that delivery guys and people who give you your packages, what they do is that when you give them the money, or when they're handing you the package, what they do is that they intentionally touch your hands. So that's a form of harassment. And so that happened a few times to me. And so I was so I was like, what do I do about this? I told my mom, and she's like, okay, your brother's going to go pick up the stuff for you from now on. And I'm like, how is that a solution? Because that's like, okay, it is a solution to an extent, but it's like saying, okay, if I'm just going from one, depending on one man, and then I'm depending on another, and I'm depending on my brother, what am I going to do when maybe I'll be living alone someday, or I won't have a man around me. And so I got this trash picking stick that I give money through now. So you just put the money at one end and just give it through the other. And yeah, and it's raised a lot of awareness as well, because men didn't know that you get harassed in that way as well. People just thought I was doing it for COVID. So yeah, it all works. And yeah, I again drifted away, but you know, fathers supporting their daughters, supporting their education, supporting anything that they want to pursue, just really helps girls and women be able to thrive in society and voice their concerns. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Hania. And the incident that you shared, that the form of harassment, that like in very small incidents, we notice so many things now that it gets really frustrating to even, wake up in the morning that you are like that, oh my God, I have to go through this ordeal again. I would share this one thing with that usually happens with me as well, that whenever I order food late at night, I never talk to the delivery guy myself on the phone. I hand it over to my brother, because I have faced, even though I get really annoyed by this, that I'm the one who is ordering the food from my phone. I'm the one who is, tracking everything. And when the guy calls me, I end up handing over the phone to my brother, because I've noticed this so many times that when I am giving the directions to my house to the delivery boy, he won't understand me. And my brother, even if he's sleepy, he is talking to him in a sleepy voice, he will still understand him. And it's so annoying and it's so frustrating for me that I am like, why? Why is this even happening?
Oh my God. So this happens with Kareem drivers as well. Because you're a woman and you're explaining the instructions of where to go, they'll be like, nahi, mujhe pata hai. Mujhe pata
exactly.
hai. And then we'll end up somewhere and paise bhi aapko hi dene padenge, or matlab, and they don't listen to you unless and until he goes the wrong way, and then maybe he'll listen. But in a lot of cases they don't listen to your instructions because you're a woman.
Yeah, I think it's very eye-opening for Athar right now that these are very small incidents that you won't think about them. I think I do think about them on a daily basis, that I used to Kareem to work, and there are two ways to get to my workplace. So in the morning, one way is very, it's heavily trafficked, and the other one is very, calm, and there's not much traffic going on that way. But I know which one's the quicker one. So whenever I give the directions from the not usually taken route, I always get into this debate with my Kareem driver. And, I have to prepare myself. And since I'm an introvert, I don't like making small talk or talking to strangers. And even that's another thing that comes into play when you are taking a Kareem or an Uber, that you have to make this small talk, this nice small conversation, so you can feel safe with that Kareem driver. So he won't think that you are rude or something, or because there's always this fear in me that I am in this car with this stranger, and since I don't know how to drive, he can drop me anywhere due to some argument, and he'd be like, "No, go on your own." तो फिर तब मैं क्या करूँगी? So these are such small incidents. I'm sorry, the conversation has gone somewhere entirely different from I am Malala. But I think these are such real things that the men around us also need to understand that they are real, and we need to do something about this. I know when it comes to us sharing about our incidents with delivery guys and Kareem drivers, I know Athar would be thinking that, oh, what I can do in these things. I think something that I would like my brother to understand, that when I ask him to talk to the delivery guy or bring my stuff from the door, his usual reaction is he's really annoyed that why are you making me leave my work or my room and to get this stuff. And I am like, I don't want to explain to all everything to you, that what actually goes through my head whenever I'm asking you to do me a favor. So yeah, it is frustrating on so many levels that it's very difficult to sometimes even describe it. Because for someone like me, I would first have to gather up that energy and form those sentences to make the other person understand that where I'm coming from. Amna, would you like to add on to this conversation?
Yes, definitely. So, in my home, we are three sisters, and I don't have a brother. And I think it's sad that I have to sometimes wish that I had a brother so that I could depend upon him in society or when I have to interact. Because again, if my father is in office, then who's going to interact with the people who are coming to our house, or who's going to interact with the delivery guys? And obviously, we do not have the luxury of, like, giving over the phone to our brothers, right? And at those points, it feels very awful. And I think that it shouldn't be that way. I think that the best thing that fathers can do in such a life is that they can be supportive of their daughters, right? They can hear them out, hear their issues, hear their problems, right? Give them a voice, and give them the dignity of being able to have an opinion. So we know how in rural areas especially, women are treated as non-entities, how they're just supposed to be there as, I don't know, as housewives, and they're not supposed to have any sort of opinion, they're not supposed to have any sort of role, they're just supposed to obey whatever the man says, right? And I think that's very, very problematic. What fathers can do is teach the girls how to express themselves eloquently, right? Because then it gives them the confidence to be able to speak up on issues. It gives them the confidence that they can raise their voices on things that matter, right? And that's a big, like, thing which we need in our society nowadays. Because even women need to realize that they can also step up. They're also a productive member of society, and they should act so, right? Because once again, they're going to be raising the next generation, they're going to be mothers, and they're going to be, even if they're not mothers, they're still a member of society, and they should still be respected as such, right? So I think, yeah, like the best thing that not only fathers but all men can do is be supportive of the women in their lives or in their society.
And thank you so much, Amna. And adding on to your thing that men should, be supportive. Another thing is, in being supportive, what they should do is believe in our stories of getting harassed. Like these small incidents that Hanya and I shared, these are very real incidents, and they really take a toll on you when you start, thinking about them. So I think what the biggest support that the men around us can give us is that believing in these stories and being like that. Yes, I also have a responsibility to, help us through these issues and tackling them, and also, resolving them as well. I know resolving is a very big word right now, because right now we are just at the part where these conversations are happening, and things are being questioned, and our values of um, um, households and values of morality are being questioned. So I think right now what men around us can do is support us and believe in us that yes, these things are real.
I just want to pitch in with
Athar is the
a
only
small.
guy right now with us. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to pitch in, just to expand in your point. I think it's really important that men should acknowledge the problems that women face every day, because only when you acknowledge them, it validates the problem. And we can't wait for another Malala to get shot. We can't wait for another Lahore incident to happen. We can't wait for another, I don't know if this is okay or not, but another rape case to happen or not. We can't wait for such figures to come up at such a level, and then it validates the problem, and then we can start working on it. We need to realize that these little instances, which do happen daily to women, and because I have the privilege of being close with some of my female friends, so I know these little things. Even concerts पे भी जाना होता था, किसी public place पे जाना होता था, so they asked us, can you please accompany us, we just want to go, we just want to feel safe. And matlab, it's just these little petty things which as men we don't even even care about to a certain extent, I feel like. for our counterparts, it's such a big deal. And I feel like it's only when we validate such little things, it can actually be counted as a problem. And only when it's a problem, we can work on it. जब आप उसको acknowledge नहीं करते, कहते हैं कि जी ओ कोई बड़ी बात नहीं, ओ इसमें ऐसी क्या बात थी, ओ ये तो छोटी सी बात है, तब तो मसला फिर मसला ही रहेगा. It's not even validated. It's not even counted as a problem. It's just, you're just told to brush it off. So I think that's a very important thing, as what fathers, and not even fathers, just every man around you should do, is to just validate your issues every day.
Thank you so much, Athar. I'm so glad that we have you in our conversation right now. Anyone else who would like to say something? We have 5 more minutes left to this conversation. Anything that you would like to talk about the book? Any other thing that comes to your mind? I think we can easily say that it's a safe space now, and we can share whatever's going through our head.
Yeah, I just wanted, this is completely off topic, but I don't know how the situation in Afghanistan is. So if this recording goes to Afghanistan or something, I just want to make sure that all of our counterparts that are in Balkh are completely fine and safe and okay. And we're here if somebody needs us in any way that they want us to support us, whether to share their stories, open a voice for them, share their videos on social media. We're here if they want us to send something and they want us to highlight a problem going on there. So I just wanted to put that out there in case this recording goes to them and they watch it.
I would like to let you know that I am in touch with our coordinators in Afghanistan, and they are telling me that right now they're looking for the situation. They are seeing how the political scenario is panning out in Afghanistan, but of course they're very scared and they are upset that how it's going to decide their future. And most of them do want to get out of the country, and we are helping them in whatever way we can. But if you are a part of our Facebook group, we have our participants from there in Afghanistan. You can post in that group and talk to them there and check up on them. I'm glad that they have internet connection there, and they are being able to connect and pass on their messages. And right now, all they're asking me is to, pray for them and keep on checking the news that how the situation is going on there right now. And I talked to the Kabul coordinator last week in Afghanistan, and he told me that surprisingly the situation is peaceful right now. But I was following the news, but I think it's different in every province. So yeah, I think they're also not aware what's happening in the other provinces, the distant provinces, but they're still seeing how it's panning out for them. But of course, they're scared because whatever they went through 20 years ago, it's kind of like the same for them. So of course, there is trauma, and they are afraid what's going to happen for them in the future. So I think if anyone else would like to say anything for our friends in Afghanistan, I can take out that clip and send it to them.
Yeah, so I would just like to say that, we're praying for you. I've been following the news religiously. Like, I spend hours in front of the TV just watching the situation unfold. And, we have a lot of people on social media, including me. We have been trying to amplify their voices and advocate for them in whatever way we can. And, we're having these conversations at home as well, and with basically everyone we know about what's happening in Afghanistan's history, and, trying to learn as much as we can and listen. And just, what Athar said as well, that, if there's any way that we can support them further, we would. I mean, of course, it's our responsibility, and there are, brothers and sisters there, and we will do it. And yeah, for the Facebook group, I don't think at least I'm not part of the Facebook group. So if you could get a link, I would like to be part of that.
I will send the group to the link to the Facebook group in the WhatsApp on WhatsApp to Ms. Khatija. She can forward it to you, and you will send me a request, and I'll let you in. So you can post on the group, you can talk to them, and I think right now it's really helpful for them even though it was a bit difficult for me to reach out to them because I was scared what's going to happen, what are they going to tell me and how I will react to it. Because I was also scared that what if someone is stuck somewhere and what can I do for them? I was thinking on those lines before contacting them. But I'm glad that I reached out to them and I talked to them, even though what I said was not, I would say, Khuda na khasta, if I was stuck in such a situation, I would have thought that it's not something very helpful to me. But I think right now, talking to them and letting them know that we are thinking about them and we are keeping them in our prayers. And even the coordinator from Afghanistan, he said that he's trying to come to Pakistan. So if he gets to come, he will try to meet me as well, and we can, make him feel that he's in a safe space. So
I just want to complete the circle of the conversation with just one small point. I feel like with everything going on in Afghanistan right now, it just shows how important figures like Malala are and how much an inspiration and voice they can be for girls who will be denied the right of education there. I don't know the situation there. We don't know what will happen in the future, but it just shows how important figures such as Malala are to raising these voices and putting that pressure on such extremist groups about how important it is for female education. So just wanted to complete the circle of the conversation. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Athar, and thank you so much everyone for joining this conversation. Next month, we'll have our last session of Book Clubs Across Borders. I'll let you know which book we'll be discussing next month. It's going to be In Other Rooms, Other Wonders. Let me know if you guys need the physical copy of the book. I can get them dispatched to you, to Ms. Khatija, and then you can pick them up from her, from your school. And if you guys are comfortable reading the PDF version of the book, I can share that link with you guys as well. So yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Can we please get a physical copy because it's the last session?
Okay. All right, I'll make sure that you guys get the physical copy of the book. So thank you so much everyone for connecting again, and I'll see you guys next month, inshallah, which will be our last session. And I enjoy talking to you guys so much. So yeah, thank you so much everyone. Have a nice day.